Welcome to a Mastering the Marketplace video. You can find more videos, hands-on labs, and example code at this URL, aka.ms/mastering the marketplace.
Now let's take a look at a quick demo for Packer. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here real quick. All right, so the scripts that you see here, I have again cloned the repository that we have that we've linked to everybody to earlier. And what this is essentially doing is this Packer section has these two scripts. Now let's take a look at this first one. So we're going to be running two scripts as part of this Packer lab if we have enough time. So the first one is this AZ resource PowerShell script, where we're going in and creating a two resource groups. Now, the first resource group, you will see the use of this. The second resource group is essentially just a temporary resource that we've created where any temporary deployments can reside. Now, I have commented this out because I've already created a service principal, but this little line is going to create a service principal with contributor permissions. That way you have access to start creating resources on Azure. So once you create this service principal, you're also going to extract the you're also going to extract the client ID, the client secret, as well as tenant ID associated with the service principal. And then we're going to take that information and put that back into our Packer script. So the next one is creating a shared image gallery within the workshop resource group that we created earlier. So all of these commands are going to take place sequentially. So it's going to initially create two resource groups and then the service principal, followed by the image gallery, as well as the image definition within the workshop resource group. So let's take a look at what parameters we're passing while creating a image definition. So we're passing the resource group that it's going to be residing under, as well as the gallery inside which the image definition resides. So we just created a gallery called WS Packer Gallery. And then we want to make sure that this image definition that we're creating will also reside inside this same gallery that we created. And then we provide a quick name for the gallery image definition, as well as provide information about the OS type, the publisher, offer, and SKU, the SKU for the image definition. So if you remember earlier when we were manually creating the image definition, it asked us which type of OS we were creating the image definition for, as well as some extra information. So that's essentially what we're providing with the extra arguments there. So let's do this. Let me go in and run this. Now, what this should typically do, all right, perfect, is it should start creating the resources that we want. So it's gonna, it has finished creating two resource groups that we initially wanted, and then it's gonna start creating the image gallery. So while that's happening, let's come and look at the second file that we have here, which is called packerlinux.json. Now, this is essentially the JSON that's going to start creating our Packer infrastructure, right? So this JSON file is going to start creating the image that we require. All right, so let's take a look at what we can do here. So if you look at the top here, I mean, You should typically not be sharing this information with anybody because this ensures that you can create any resources on Azure. But after this demonstration, I will go ahead and delete the service principles. So I just went ahead and exposed it. What you can also do additionally is set these variables as environment variables. That way you don't have to pass it. And then you can just go in and start running your scripts. So I'm just setting a couple of variables in the beginning, and some of these others, I've just left them blank because I will pass them via the command line as well. So this one, like we saw earlier, we are stating all the variables that we will be using within our Packer infrastructure development. So I've declared all the variables here. And if you look here, now the builders, like we discussed earlier, is one of the required components of Packer. So when we begin with builder, it's going to tell us everything about the image that we're trying to create. So, it's it's talking about the client ID, the client secret. So essentially where in Azure all of this is going to be created. If you look here, I'm mentioning that the type is going to be called Azure ARM. So it's using this template to create all of these resources. And then, I have a managed image resource group name. So all the resources that are created will go in and reside inside this particular resource group. I'm just going to rename this to the one that we have here. And then we're also so when we create an image, Packer will initially always create a managed image and then get the create an image version out of that. So we're also going to provide a temporary managed image name. And then we are specifying the type of image that we want to create. So we have the OS type, which is Linux, the image publisher, image offer, as well as image SKU. So you will want to make sure that you have the right information here, because this is what is going to specify which type of image is going to be created. Now I'm just adding a couple of additional tags here for the creation of the resource. And let's take a look at this. So next I've provided the VM size. And then also I have provided a resource group for where any temporary deployments are going to take place. So if we take a look at this, we created two different resource groups, one which is going to hold the image that we create, and the other which was called WSPacker-RG, which is going to hold any temporary deployments that will take place during the deployment of this build. So we're saving that and also giving a temporary compute name for the VM that gets deployed with it. And I'm also enabling this to true, which essentially means that a private virtual network is created. And I'm also giving it a timeout, a particular duration for a timeout. And this essentially means that if my Packer script takes more than 30 minutes to run, then I'm just going to exit out of it and just know that there's been an error. And then if you look right here under shared image gallery destination, it's specifying everything regarding a shared image gallery. So we've given the specifics of what VM to image, what OS type, etc. And now we're also going to give information about, which resource group the shared image gallery is the image is going to lie in, which gallery, inside which gallery, and inside which, and what the image name is going to be, as well as what the image version. All right, so if you look here, all of these are user-defined variables that will either come from here, which it could have, but because I've declared that as a user-defined variable, I will also be passing this via the command line when I run my Packer script, my Packer command. And lastly, provisioners. Like we saw earlier, provisioners are going to do all the installation of software and run those commands for you. So if you look here, it's running all of these different commands in order to configure our virtual machine to essentially make it customized the way we want. So if you had extra customization that you wanted, you can simply go ahead and put those extra commands right here, but it's just a comma separated list. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at whether this completely ran. Perfect. So it's created all the resources for us. So if I go back to my Azure portal and I take a look at my resource group, it should have by now created these two resource groups exactly the way we wanted it, as well as also created an image definition and a gallery inside it. So if you look at this one's going to be completely empty because we still haven't started any deployments inside of it. So let's go ahead now and see if we can start this deployment. So let's quickly confirm that we have all the right information here, the right resource groups, image names. Now I'm going to go to my README file. Again, this is the same thing that I've cloned. And what I'm going to do is come out here and let's see if we have all the right information. We're calling Packer build on a location, which is West US 2. And then we're parsing a user defined variable, which is these the shared image gallery resource group, and then the name of the shared image gallery followed by the shared image, the image definition name, which is going to be WS Packer image definition, and then followed by a quick image version right here. And then we're going to run the same Packer Linux.json script that we saw right here. So if we just do this a little bit, you will see that we are passing most of this information right here. So we're taking the SIG image version, SIG image name, the gallery name, as well as the gallery resource group. All right, now let's go ahead and start this. Now, running this Packer script is probably going to take a little bit of time. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and ran my Packer ahead of time. So essentially, if I come back here, I ran the same exact script, which started creating this, which started creating and running our Azure ARM template. So it started running the build, getting tokens, as well as reading all of the client secrets. And then it's gone ahead and created the IP address, etc. So at the end of this script, if you look here, it's going to start deleting any temporary deployments that were created. So I had asked for creation of a temporary deployment, and if you look here, it's also finished creating all of the image. So at the very end, it has gone ahead and deleted all of the resources that it started from. And at the end of the build, it also gave us a time of about 10 minutes that it took to run this entire script. And then once it's finished, it tells you which artifacts were successfully built, which is this. This is essentially what we wanted. And we can actually go in to our Azure template here. So if I go to my resource group, it has created these two images that I wanted from scratch. So we started off with just a simple gallery and a Packer image definition, but we went ahead and also created these two image definitions. So if you look inside the image definition, you'll see those two image versions that were created, as well as the status or the replication status and the provisioning status, showing that they have both completed. Now let's do this. Let's go ahead and actually confirm if such an image was really created. So what I can do is I can go in and create a VM straight out of this. So perfect. I'm going to give this as test VM packer. And if you look here, it's reusing the image from the Packer gallery image that we created. And then I'm going to leave all of this as is, right? And then just go ahead and review and create this. All right. Perfect. Now this deployment is actually going to create that virtual machine out of the image created out of Packer. So let's give it a couple of seconds. And if I go to my resource group, you will see not only the resources that we saw earlier, it's also created an IP, a virtual network, a key, and several other resources required for the virtual machine. So perfect. I believe this virtual machine, okay, perfect. This deployment also succeeded. Let's go in to this deployment. So this is the virtual machine that was created out of the image that was created. So if I take a look at this, you will see that Apache was installed. So if you're wondering why this customization did not happen, that's simply because I decided to omit that customization out of our script. So if you look here, all we did was install an Apache server, which it did that. Perfect. This shows that we were able to create the virtual machine out of that Packer image. Now, I also wanted to give you a little more information before we move on, which is Azure has already documented the creation of virtual machines via Packer. So you can create different images using this document that's publicly available. It also talks to you about how you can create your service principals, client IDs, secrets, and also about how you can configure and run your scripts. So you have two sections, one for Linux, one for Windows. And then let's go ahead and take a look at what the Windows one looks like. So when it comes to running a script for Linux and Windows, there aren't too many changes, except you will have to use WinRM and also provide the OS type to just be Windows. So there's just a couple of changes that you'll be making. If you remember earlier, we used just shell script over here under type, but here we're just using PowerShell, just different provisioners, different types, but essentially just doing the same set of steps. You will still go ahead and provide the same, OS types that we want, etc. And once that is complete, we can just go ahead and start running our builds.
Thank you for joining us for another video from Mastering the Marketplace, the learning library where technologists go to get their offer on the Microsoft Marketplace. For more videos, hands-on labs, and sample code, find us at aka.ms/masteringthemarketplace.